Years ago, I heard someone use the expression hold on tight with an open hand. What that really means is that we're to hold the reins of life, R-E-I-N-S, like reins as in a horse, holding the reins of life loosely. There's a certain paradox, obviously, to holding on tight with an open hand, but it captures the essence of a balance in our lives between control and surrender. We're always wrestling with being in control and needing to surrender. We're always wrestling with what do we stay attached to? What do we need to detach from? From a perspective of the scripture and our walk with God, that challenging tension between God's sovereignty and our human agency, our will. We grapple with sovereignty and our free will all the time. And while we're called to act and to steward our lives in a way that allows us to live responsibly, ultimately we have to recognize that everything is in God's hands. Proverbs 19:21 makes that really clear. And so holding on tightly, it does reflect our responsibility, but our open hand symbolizes our recognition that God is ultimately over all and sovereign. If you remember in the parable of the talents, the servants were entrusted with talents 1, 3, and 5, and they were expected to use them wisely. They were to hold on tight to those gifts, but not so tightly that they became paralyzed by fear and failed to invest or use them. Sadly, the last servant, who only got the 1 talent, compared himself to the others and held on tightly and refused to let go. And the consequences were not all that pleasant. Paul, in his writings in 2 Corinthians, talks about the fact that he boasts in his weakness because in his weakness he's made strong. There's another example of holding on tight with an open hand, so that even while Paul is engaging in the work of God, he is saying that he has learned to deeply trust and allow in surrender all that he does to be done in yieldedness to the work of the indwelling Spirit. From a psychological perspective, the desire for control is a fundamental human trait. And yet, you've been around people like I have who have an excessive need for control. And what that leads to is nothing but stress and anxiety. It's not really great for our mental health. And so the balance of holding on tight with an open hand mirrors that therapeutic principle of taking action where we can and accepting what we can't change. Lord, grant me the serenity, right? The serenity prayer, Reinhold Niebuhr. And it's oftentimes there that we have to know the difference. What can I change? What can I change? I've got to hold on tight with an open hand. In psychology, there's also something called attachment theory. And attachment theory suggests that our early relationships in life shape the way we attach to others as we grow up. We can have secure attachments, we can have anxious attachments, we can have avoidant attachment issues, we can be disorganized in our attachments. Holding on tightly with an open hand is an invitation to genuine, secure kinds of attachments in life where we feel confident in the relationships that we have while we're open to change and the unpredictabilities that life can bring to us. And even in relationships at times, that's a hard lesson to learn. The ability for us to adapt our thinking and our behavior in response to changing situations is really a marker of healthy mental states. And holding on tightly in that regard represents our commitment and our dedication, while the open hand represents our flexibility and our adaptability. And certainly when it comes to our self-concept, it's essential to have a firm sense of self. and to have personal boundaries. That would be holding on tight. It's also vital to remain open to growth and to change and to feedback from others. That's the open hand. And so holding on tight with an open hand captures the tension and the balance between action and surrender, commitment and flexibility. Whether we look at it from the Godward side or we look at it from the human side and our psychological perspective, it's a guidepost to help us navigate the complexities of life with grace, with purpose, and with flexibility. Holding the reins of life loosely is a life lesson we have to learn again and again and again. And so sum it up in your heart and remind yourself, I need to hold on tight with an open hand.